Hello friendly bookish people, I hope you are having a grand old day. I decided that today we should look at some new books. Yes, it is time to parade my purchases before you. It is time for a book haul. First book I have gotten hold of will be a surprise to no one. It is The Stone Sky by N.K. Jemisin. I have absolutely adored the 5th season and The Obelisk Gate, the first 2 books in this series, and I can't wait to get on to this 3rd one. Those first 2 both won Hugo Awards for the best novel 1 year after the other, and I've heard so many great things about this one. It might be in the running as well. These are stories set in a fantasy world in which earthquakes are very common and cause cataclysmic events which almost end the world over and over again. You have a whole history of them, some lasting many, many years, and people design their entire lives around how they'll be able to get through the next one. Throughout the books we have followed the story of a character who is an origin, a person who can control earthquakes, and who society treats horrifically because of this fact. If you haven't read this series yet, I really highly recommend it. They are so unlike anything else I have ever read, and they are so brilliantly inclusive and fantastical. I'm going to be reading the 3rd one really soon, but I always kind of need to leave a break in between them to prepare myself emotionally. The 2nd book I have got hold of this month is British by Afua Hirsch. Last year I read Why I'm No Longer Talking to White People About Race, and I thought that book was so amazingly important, and I've heard a lot of similar praises heaped upon this one. It is by a young black British woman talking about her experiences of living such and what it means to be British. It looks at the everyday structural racism that is still part of our society and ways we can draw light upon it and examine it and try and move beyond it. I found Remi Eddo-Lodge's book brilliant because I would read it and it would strike a chord with me in the ways that I still experience sexism, for instance, and would see the things that I didn't experience, the places where I had an automatic pass, and would try and see ways in which I could shut up and give other people a platform. So I'm really looking forward to reading this as well at some point soon. Then we're on to Killer Tea by Robert Muchamore. You can see the full cover revealed right here. This is a proof cover without any colour. I've been a huge fan of Robert Muchamore's work since I started reading his Cherub books in the early 2000s. Stories about teenagers who were inducted into a secret organisation of spies because no one expects their children or their children's friends to be spying on them. I've heard this book is going to be very different, aimed at a slightly older audience and with a bit of sci-fi thrown in there. So I'm excited to get going. It's published in September anyway, so I've got a little while to read it before it comes out. I then have a copy of To Kill a Kingdom by Alexandra Christo, which was kindly sent to me by Hotkey. This book is a new YA fantasy that publishes in March, and it focuses on a siren, a brilliant siren, who has lured 17 princes to their deaths. Only she makes a mistake and kills one of her own, and is punished by being turned into a human. If she can bring back a prince's heart, she will be returned to her previous state. But of course there are complications. It's a YA novel. There are always complications. I'm looking forward to reading this one ASAP. We then have Summer with Monica by Richard McGough, which is a book of poems. And much to my shame, I don't really know who Richard McGough is. I bought this because it was illustrated by Christopher Riddell. I'm a bit Christopher Riddell obsessed. You guys might know him from the Deepwood series, which he illustrated and Paul Stewart wrote. Ever since then, I've basically bought anything he's illustrated at all, and I follow him on social media. So I saw him drawing a lot of these poems online and wanted to find out more. We then have Women and Power by Mary Beard, which seemed to be everywhere all Christmas, and I resisted buying it all Christmas and then bought it after Christmas. I'm a sucker for a short little book that I feel will give me all the information I need but in a quick read. And I'm a sucker for little books on feminism. I'm that person who always buys those things that are on the till point. So this was going to end up in my possession eventually. I know Mary Beard from her TV appearances, and I have a couple of her books as audiobooks, big Roman histories. I thought this would be a nice little way to add on to that as well. She has basically been my one education into ancient history, as that was just something that we never touched upon in my school. So I have weird little insights to Roman era things through her works. Following the feminism theme, I was really excited when this turned up in the post. It is called Brazen and it is by Penelope Bagul. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right. Yes, I am always looking for more feminist books, and I also love graphic novels, so this seems like a match made in heaven for me. If you watched my January wrap-up video, you'd see that I just read 100 Nights of Hero, and this looks like it could be the closest next thing for someone who's hungry for more of that. I've only had a quick flick through since it arrived, but it looks absolutely stunning. I love the fact that it's in full colour, and the press release has touted that it's an international bestseller, that it has already been acclaimed around the world. So I'm going to get to this one soon as well. The final book I got hold of this month is The Master and Margarita by SableCaught. Again, probably pronouncing that wrong. If I have any Russian speakers in the audience, let me know. So I spend a lot of my time sneering at the classics. I love to sit on this weird high horse I have, saying how the classics are all a construct made up of white straight men to perpetuate white straight ideas. And yet, although it doesn't fit with that image, there are some classics I like, and generally the Russian classics have proved to be that. I'm a big fan of Dostoevsky, basically. I thought I should widen my reading slightly beyond him, and I'd been eyeing up these absolutely gorgeous vintage classics for a while. And of those they did, The Master and Margarita sounded the weirdest and thus the most interesting to me, so I thought I'd give it a go. It's got the devil as a character in it, and I've heard that it's actually quite funny in parts, so let's see how it goes. So those are the books I've got hold of this month. Let me know if you've read any of them and what you think, and if there's any you want me to particularly get to quite quickly, and I'll try and bump them up the TBR pile. Other than that, I will see you in my next video. Bye guys. If Shakespeare is so lauded for all he recorded, and credits abound for the words he set down, then why should I keep within the bounds of letters as they ought to be, all ordered?